Welcome! Today we're going to be going on a trip to Cornel's world. I went there about 2 years ago and filmed this, but it came out really terrible. The footage was almost black and the audio was terrible. So now 2 years later, with a little bit of editing skills, I've tried to make this as good for you as possible. Come and enjoy this interview with Chris from Cornel's world and from the show Scaled. Thanks for letting us visit.
No problem. Thanks for coming by.
Are they all Greg's or some of them yours?
They're just shop pets, really. So, yeah. This one's mine, but the rest are all Greg's.
Are you able to handle it?
The Amazon tree boa?
Yeah.
Not so much. It's very bitey. It's very similar to green trees.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have any?
Everything else is handleable.
Oh,
there's no food in there. There's no water in there
Don't
right now.
say these things. You're incriminating yourself.
I know. I'll recommend other breeders and stuff. Like I've done that lots of times at the shows and stuff too. Is I'll say, hey, I had this, but you know what? So and so has this as well, or this guy has this.
Had a salon, got a bigger one.
Yeah.
Then made a baby. Got married.
Gotcha.
And closed my shop, made a little shop, and snake breeding.
Right.
Like all sorts of things. I got into it, got obsessed with it. Now I'm mostly a full-time dad.
Yeah.
I have a shop that I work at Friday and Saturday doing hair. Been doing YouTube videos for the past couple years.
Okay.
I just had my first clutch of African house snakes.
Oh, nice.
Mostly boas though.
Right. So what do you like more, boas or what's your? I mean, obviously your collection seems to be mostly boas, but you seem like you're branching off.
So I have SD retics, ball pythons, boas, pictus geckos, crested geckos, leopard geckos. I didn't really like bearded dragons that much because you need to give them more, more space and everything.
Yeah.
I have some crazy SD retics.
Okay. Speaking of space.
But I have like small.
Yeah.
Like Superdwarf. My biggest one is it's actually a pure 12-year-old and it's 11 feet.
Yeah.
And it's calico, so it's pretty cool. We have the 10-foot rule, the 3-meter rule.
Oh, okay.
So if the snake stays under 3,
right?
So boas fall under that.
Yeah.
So it's like they're fine, but there's boas that can pass that. But
I know, and that's always seems stupid to me. So as soon as your snake hits a certain point, oh, sorry, I have to find a new home for it or rehome it or.
The thing is that if they come and they see you're keeping it properly and everything, they don't want to take it. You know,
right?
Like if you raised a boa and it did hit past 10 feet, like for me, I just don't take that stuff outside.
Yeah.
Because I take my boas outside and I let them go into grass.
Well, it's pretty tough to measure a live
snake. I do that all the time, but with my biggest SD, it just sucks because I can't do that, and I'd like to. But the guy I bought it off basically told me it was 9 feet. I paid for it. He drove it over.
Turns out it's just 9 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Who are you?
I'm Chris Stinson, work here at Cornel's World, shop manager.
What are the things that you do? Do you breed? Do you keep? What do you keep? Snakes, geckos, monitors? Tell us everything. That's
a very loaded question. I've been keeping and breeding. First of all, I was a keeper for a long time, and I've been keeping since the late 80s. So as far as breeding goes, I kept stuff for quite a long time. I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing. There was no real push for breeding stuff initially. It was really I wanted to keep stuff. I had a pretty varied collection. I started off with iguanas, and then California king snakes, and then rainbow boas, and then kind of branched off from there. Some milk snakes, all that kind of stuff. And then it was years later is when I started getting interested in the breeding stuff. But I wanted to make sure that I knew everything I possibly could about the animals, any possible problems or issues that could arise, so that I could confidently fix any issues that would arise with husbandry or health issues and stuff to somebody else. If I'm producing this animal, I want to produce it for a reason. I want to improve on it, and I want to be able to help anybody with any issues they have with those animals I produced. So I really wanted to make sure I knew my stuff. I had a lot of experience, hands-on experience, before I even thought about breeding stuff. Back
in the day, it was more a hobby.
Yeah.
Like now it has become more, people just want to collect.
Yeah.
And I noticed that even for myself. Anytime I get an animal, that is the first thing you should do. Yeah. Make sure that you can take care of it.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we all wanted one of those little like flying marsupials. What are they called? Sugar gliders.
Sugar gliders. My wife has a couple of those. So. Yeah.
See, I wanted those, but I looked it up. I'm like, can I take care of them? I can't, so I don't. And it sucks, but it's the responsible thing to do.
Yeah.
Just like chameleons.
Oh,
It's
for
like,
sure.
If you breed them, are you gonna be able to deal with like 200 people?
Well, and that's with our climate here. It's so dry. We're like a desert. Our ambient humidity is less than 20% most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's very tough for us to keep a lot of chameleon species here. So we had a couple of shop chameleons that we sort of had some varied success with. The veileds tend to do better. I guess they're from Yemen, normally, so they can handle a bit lower humidity. So that was a better option for shop pet here. But for myself personally, I mean, currently keeping and breeding. I mean, I kept a lot of Europlatus back in the day. Kind of bred some of those, a few different species of those. Lots of different milks, kings, all that kind of stuff. Right now, I'm keeping yellowtail crebo, Madagascar giant hognose, because we can't keep venomous here, but there's a few rear-fanged, not dangerous to human species that we can keep here. We can't keep western hognose or any of the other hognose species, except for the South American species here. So that was kind of an option. Madagascar went that direction, so I've kept those. Bred those as well. Several different king snake species, like some Thayeri, some Blaze goini, Florida kings, Cal kings in the past. Now I'm keeping some rosy boas as well. Rainbow boas, Brazilians. Trying to kind of work my way through my snake room here. Northern blue tongue skinks, Russian tortoises. I'm trying to think. Mexican black kings, Cape house snakes.
All at your house?
Yeah. This is all at home. I got to go through just mentally going through all my racks here. I got some corn snakes as well.
Ball pythons?
No ball pythons. No ball pythons.
No ball pythons.
No ball pythons. No boas. Other than I got rosy boas, like smaller boa species,
Yeah.
right? Some rosies and some locality rosies too.
So when did you start, and how long have you been doing this?
So 89 is really when I moved here after grad is when I started keeping stuff. So pretty quickly after that, I got some iguanas and then tried to help out some guy with like an iguana rescue. That was a bit of a failed thing. As goes, they were very abused animals back then. Even back then, the veterinarians we talked to said they were like the second most abused animal or mistreated or miscared for animal next to horses. Yeah. So giant green iguanas.
Who would abuse a horse?
That's apparently just, horses were being kept very poorly, apparently. So this was what they said back then. I don't know how it is now.
I'm like, if you can afford a horse, you figure you'd treat it properly.
I know, right? One would think so. And yeah, then it branched out to snakes, king snakes. Kept lots of different garter species too. In the past, kept and bred some checkers, some Santa Cruz, some California red-sideds, some San Franciscos. And a lot of different various colubrids, like a lot of different pine snakes. Used to keep northerns, some Mexican line pines, some of the other Mexican pine snakes as well. No, just I like to keep a variety of stuff, stuff that interests me. Nothing wrong with ball pythons. That's what a lot of people are into. It's just not my cup of tea. As far as keeping
where I am, that's like all everyone has. That was my first snake, so I started off with a ball python, and that's kind of what got me into it. I saw boas, and I'm like, there's no way I'd have one of those. Yeah. It's gonna scare me. Like, imagine getting bit by that. Yeah. And then I got bit by like a big one, and after that I'm like, oh. Yeah. It's just like I'm bleeding. Okay.
Uromastics. I forgot. I keep and breed Uromastics too. So Saharan Uromastics. Yeah, we've got a real nice big, really bright lemon yellow male, and a couple of females keeping a nice big cage. So
I had those before too.
They're so much fun. I love Uromastics.
I like them. I just find they're stinky. Same thing with the bearded guy.
Mine isn't fine. I mean, they're vegetarians, right? So it's just
that too. Making them salads all the time.
Yeah.
I do it for my tortoise, and that's basically it.
See, and I just have to once a week I make a great big salad, and then every day throughout the week. So once on the weekends, it's not too bad. So I've been here a couple of years at Cornel's World. Once we were in filming of Scaled, that's when it sort of became a thing of trying to work my regular job as a sales rep. And then trying to do this in the off hours, it just wasn't working out. So they wanted to bring me on full time. I was going to take a leave, but they were like, we can't really do that. So I just had to.
Okay, I saw that like on Dragon's Den or whatever.
Yeah, so Greg was on Dragon's Den. You can see the pictures actually on the wall there.
Well, like the deal was like they gave him like $100,000 and he had to give 20% of the whole business, or like for a certain amount of time, forever. What was the deal with that?
Yeah. So and again, that's more of a Greg question, but from what he's told me is sort of behind the scenes they had sort of said, I don't know if it was shown or not in the episode, but he said like Arlene and a couple of the others had said, you don't really need us. All you need is a loan to get a CNC. You don't need somebody to help run your business. And as well, he was kind of going, do I want to cough up a percentage of my business to somebody who's maybe you're maybe not going to help or do much, but really all he needed was a bank loan. So in the due diligence phase, and apparently that's where most of the Dragon's Den deals sort of fall apart. Went and got his bank loan, got the CNC, and then has been working. We're on our second CNC now, so we upgraded a couple of years back. So
I love one of those, but I have no space. No money for one and no space.
For us, it's definitely necessary. And with COVID, we thought things were going to be really slow. It's actually been the complete opposite. We're working on about a 6-week lead time right now for caging and stuff. We've got a big, thick order.
Well, because everyone's lonely. Everyone's stuck at home, and they bought. I had my best year of snake sales too.
Yeah. People are sitting around going, geez, or they'd like to upgrade their enclosures. But we thought, you know, with people not working and stuff, that people wouldn't have any money. But what happened was people aren't driving to work, so they're saving money on gas, they're saving money on food, they're not buying, you know, lunches, going out, they're not going to pubs and drinking, all this stuff. Like, a lot of guys are like, man, I've got like $5,000-6,000 in my pocket at the end of the month I didn't even know I had. So they start spending it on their caging, or their racks, or upgrading what they've got. So a bit of an eye-opener for us. It was caught us a bit off guard, so we've been really busting our butts, working a lot of extra hours to try and get caught up, just to try and provide, you know, service to people, right?
Where are you from, and are there any fun facts about?
Any fun facts about? So I'm from, born in Burnaby, BC, raised in Maple Ridge, BC, and then moved out here in '89 after grad. I don't know any fun facts. There's a few Larry Walker, baseball players from Maple Ridge, BC, Cam Neely, Greg Moore, the now deceased Indy driver, was from there as well, so there's a few sort of celebrities. I guess the Scott brothers, the Property brothers, are from there too.
And what was it that first... You said like the iguana thing, or what was your very first like reptile introduction? How did you get into that?
I think like most kids, it starts with dinosaurs when you're like a really little kid, and the dinosaurs are just the coolest thing ever. And then just being, you know, back then everybody went outside and played, right? We didn't have devices, we weren't stuck on our phones all day and all that stuff. So we'd go and play all day. So you'd be finding, you know, frogs or garter snakes and crayfish and all kinds of stuff. And failing miserably, you know, trying to keep an ice cream buckets outside when you're a little kid, like just horrible stuff. But you didn't know any better back then. There was no internet.
I'd always find a bird
books, right?
and try to feed them.
We were trying to keep crayfish in a bucket, and we're like, why are they dying? And they stink. You know, garters, my dad was actually pretty funny because he would like release them overnight. Like we'd try to keep them in a bucket, and somehow they always got away. I knew it, and then found out later it was my dad just let them go because he's like, you're not going to know how to keep this thing. It's going to die. So, and plus my mom hated snakes, so just trying to keep them away from the house.
You've chosen like a few things to work with. What,
yeah.
Like the things that you are like enjoying breeding.
Yeah.
What are the ones that are like your favorites? My
favorites, I mean, obviously
like
Uromastyx. So Uromastyx would be one of my favorite species. They're really cool because I don't like bug eaters. So I found out over time of keeping a bunch of different species that for me, I just hate having crickets in the house. I don't like bug eaters because I don't like having bugs in the house. The wife doesn't like that too. Some of the different, you know, there was some really fun species I kept, like some of the Uroplatus, the leaf-tailed geckos, some of the Fimbriatus, the Sakuri. There's a few of those that we kept that were a lot of fun to keep. Very difficult, very challenging, which really interested me. But again, just the bugs was an ongoing issue, so it was like, okay, no bug eaters. So blue-tongued skinks I keep, which those are fun, those are easy to keep. Canned dog food once a week with some frozen mixed vegetables.
I always like the pink ones more.
Really?
I just think they're prettier.
They look cool.
I find the blue ones, cool. I just think they're ugly. Like I like the monkey
I like
skinks.
little sausages. The monkey tails are really cool
The monkey tails.
We're going to be having some here in the shop soon, so
awesome.
Greg's getting ready to build a nice fancy enclosure for those. But yeah, then it was just, you know, so and as far as snakes go, I'm really more of a colubrid guy. I like the active snakes, a lot of different colors, just ones that don't sit in a corner like in a lump, right? So, and you can make some interesting setups if you want to make them naturalistic or not. It's more for us than the snakes anyway.
Corn snakes, they smell, when they crap, their smell is worse than boa crap.
And I've never understood this. People obsessed with the smell. It's it stinks. Like, I don't understand.
But it's
people
just
go,
the little ones stink more than the big ones.
No, it's like some biker dropped a deuce in your house. Like, it's way worse when it's a giant boa. It's a huge turd. Instead of a little tiny one that dries up in the shavings. I've never understood that. I kept indigos too.
Awesome.
People are like, oh, they're just. I mean, sometimes they'll spray the walls, but you know, gardeners eat a lot of fish, and you know, I mean, mix up their diet. Roll some snakes. The same with the cribos. They eat fish, right? So there's a lot of that. But yeah, I've just never understood somebody going, I don't want to keep those because the poop smells.
Oh, I keep them anyway.
Everything smells.
I just find it surprising that the little ones. Okay, favorite part, at least favorite part of the business.
Of the business? Favorite part is the animals, for sure. Just being able to have a little slice of, you know, nature of some sort of exotic locale or whatever in your house, or an exotic animal from somewhere else, interacting with it. You know, it's like those little childhood fantasies, like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, right? Or Steve Irwin for people, where you're like taming the wild beast, right? So you've got these cool, active little animals that you keep, and you're trying to keep them as best you can, mimic their habitats as best you can as far as temperatures and all that kind of stuff. The worst part would be the people, I guess. Like, in a sense of, I love people, I'm a people person, but it's the best and worst part of it, right? Where it's the people with different motivations or different, you know what I mean? Like, just, like, I love people, I love dealing with people. I was a sales rep in a previous life before I was working here, so that part of it is not a problem. It's just when people get kind of weird about stuff, or there's a lot of people that are really sketchy in the hobby.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? So
they come at the shows and they're like, if I put this with this one,
yeah,
are they going to make babies?
Yeah, and people have all their own ethics and morals and stuff, and that's fine for themselves, but just misrepresenting stuff is what I hate about it, because most people are good people at heart, and really good people, and there's a lot of amazing people, and some of my best friends in the world are people that I've met in the reptile hobby, so it's the best part and can be the worst part of it.
Did I ask you about your wife and your friends, how they feel?
No, you didn't.
No, how does your wife and friends feel?
So my wife's actually been very supportive of it, which is funny because we got together. I had a couple of snakes. Yeah, she was interested in, thought it was kind of cool, and then we worked a couple of expos together. And I didn't want to expand my collection too big. I was trying to keep it small. We were renting. I didn't, I wanted to wait till I had our own place before I really blew my collection up too much. But she was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Like, what about this or what about that?" And I'm like, "No, for me." But I was like, "What do you think of this?" She's like, "Oh, that's really cool." So then she was very much an enabler early on with that stuff. So she's pretty cool. But my kids love them, and then if they get bit by one, they hate that kind for a while. So.
How old are your kids?
11 and 7.
Awesome. So you got
two girls. Yeah.
Nice. I got one girl. They say God gives troublemakers girls to fix us up.
That's why I've got 2.
I won't try for another because I know I'm going to get another.
I know, yeah.
Then
I'll just have nothing but girls, I'm sure. Yeah, that's payback.
Now, out of all the animals, so we got your favorite species. Yeah. It's the Euromastics, but your favorite...
Well, snakes. I would say more of my garters, more of my active snakes are probably... I thought, as far as lizards go, my Euros and skinks, and then, a lot of the more intelligent active snakes, like garters, Drymarchon are really awesome. And the kings, I love king snakes.
So which one animal, your favorite?
That I have?
Like out of all your animals, which one's your favorite?
I don't have one favorite.
You don't have one
favorite? No,
there's not one?
There's not one that's my absolute favorite. It's hard to... It's like having a favorite kid.
Oh.
You don't have a favorite kid. If you have one kid, it's easy. If you have multiple kids, you can't have a favorite kid.
See, because it's like, for me, I have my favorite boa, and that's because it's from like the first litter that I ever had, and it's just my favorite.
Yeah.
And then I also have like my favorite just for like, oh, this is so rare, it's so special.
Yeah.
You don't have any...
They've all got things I love about them too, though, so it's... You can't really narrow it down. That's probably why I keep so many different things, because variety's the spice of life, right? So I like to keep a lot of different stuff. They're all my favorite children. Yeah. Again, like more the more active ones. I'm actually getting some Lake Chapala garters, so I'm pretty excited about that. I've gotten out of garters for a bit, but those were my favorite snake species.
And you keep them like in a group, or?
Yeah, like depending on the species, a lot of them do better. I find do better in groups.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Group feeding and stuff, getting them. There's a lot to it. It's hard to kind of narrow it down in a quick conversation. Yeah. I could go on about them, but. No, I love them just because they're very curious, very active. You get all the little heads periscoping up. You walk in the room, they're all kind of actually literally watching, like they're paying attention and watching what you're doing, which is really cool to me. So
out of all the gardeners, what is there a favorite species or one that you find smarter?
No, I think they're all pretty similar. It's just different paint jobs, really. They're all very similar. I found, anyways.
The black ones,
melanistic ones.
Yeah, those I find cool.
Yeah, so there's some really cool, and there's some really cool bright colored ones, like the San Franciscos were kind of a bucket list animal to keep, so because they're federally protected in the U.S., like you can't keep them in the U.S. unless you're a zoo. So for us to have them up here, they got to come through Europe, right? So for us to have them here was kind of cool because my buddies in the States can't keep them, so we're pretty jealous of those. But some of them are I like them more because of bright colors, and some of them I like more because they have more natural muted colors. And it kind of goes both ways.
So do you feel that same way, kind of with the yellowtail cribos and the indigos? Like, do you find an intelligence difference, or they're just different colors?
I definitely find like behavior's different, but as far as like intelligence goes,
because I got a black tail, but I like those others, but I'm not willing to pay the price tag to have them. Enough. And I feel like I like the way the black tails kind of look the most. Yeah. Except for some of the yellow tails when they maintain that like neon yellow face.
Yeah, for sure.
But lots of them don't.
No, the face, mine.
Yeah.
The face is a little muted. Yeah. But I found as a general rule, indigos to be a little more tractable, a little generally calmer. I found the yellowtails, and the yellowtails are longer. Like the indigos will be a little heavier bodied, a little shorter, generally speaking. You'll get some big examples of anything. The yellowtails, they say, can get up around 10 feet. I had a male that was 8'2", so they definitely get a lot of size on them, but they're not as girthy as an indigo is. But I just find they're a little more flighty and a little more crazy food aggressive. I found in their cage. And I put food in,
that.
You can see it. The behavior just change as soon as they smell food or it's in there. Woo! You see it instantly. You get that real jerky, like bird-like movements.
Mine's shy. Like mine's really funny because it's just like it hides. It knows when it's gonna be fed, but it's just like it's so funny because I've seen videos of them like flying out at people, whatever. But mine always stays like in its hide. Yeah. I bring the food close to the hide and it shoots out of the hide, grabs it, and takes it. But it never really just comes out. It's only when the food's there. It grabs it and.
It might be up, but if I go in there, she'll get kind of defensive and S up and think food's coming. You see like it's more of a feeding response and a bit of defense. And then once she's out, though, she's totally fine. Yeah. She's very handleable, tractable.
I find the retics are like that.
Getting her out. Yeah. Once she's in the cage, she's very defensive. Cage defensive.
When I open the retic, I'm just
like... Well, and food motivated. But I mean, everything in the room smells like food to her, too, right? So get her out of the room, handle her, and she's totally fine.
Oh, I know. Do you find that with the king snakes, if you handle your other snakes and then you hold... like a king snake,
I have made that mistake before, and I have been chewed on all the way down to my knuckle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, from a sub-adult Florida king, just all the way down. Yeah. And actually just had one yesterday. While I was feeding her, she bit her own tail and started biting it. You can see the light switch kind of go on, like bite, bite. And that's not the food. Yeah. But no, I generally try and make sure I wash my hands, or I'll do them first. Yeah. And then do other ones, or I'll just basically just try and wash my hands between them because you can get that. I've just found they seem to kind of know for the most part, but again, those like it biting itself really shows that it's probably not the brightest of snakes.
I have Florida kings, and usually they're totally cool. But I don't know if maybe it's because I have a scaleless corn, and maybe the scaleless smells more or something maybe from it. Because it was just like after it was just wrapped around my finger and biting on me, but then after that I'm just like I figured it's probably the smell of the snake.
Could be, or if you get like musked by one of the other snakes, then they'll be a little more food aggressive. I find, but.
Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you so much for joining today. One of the things... Cornel's World or Cornel? I think it's Cornel. If you're interested in seeing other keepers, I have a huge video where I kind of summarize a whole pile of the reptile keepers and my thoughts on them. You can check that out. And there's also a playlist with more interviews from other keepers that shared some of their thoughts with us. If you're a keeper and you enjoy the channel and want to be on it, contact me. I'd love to feature you. Okay. Done. Oh, I already did it.